Welcome to a presentation by Beautiful Forever, Aesthetic Business Consulting, with CEO Cheryl Whitman.
Well, everybody knows they need to market, but really, how effective are your marketing methods? We get those calls every day of the week from every size practice. So what are your goals, and what are the goals of your marketing metrics? We will cover that information today to help you to make the wisest decisions and to learn how to measure the impact of your efforts. It's interesting, but co-marketing is something where you can actually share the expense and work and network with local professionals, local spas, even art galleries. You can share the expense of ads and events and videos, and you can showcase your expertise on a subject or a topic. So put that in your notes for today. But who in your practice is in charge of spending your money on your marketing? That needs to be looked at very carefully and measured, and those reports need to be looked at on a weekly and a monthly basis. And until you could grasp the things that impact your practice true health, you'll be stuck treating symptoms instead of treating the disease. So there are many ways to grow a business, including injecting lots of money into all kind of marketing. But we need to be aware, and we need to know what's most profitable to grow your practice in your location. Might not be what works for you works for somebody else. That's why we take everything on a personal one-on-one basis depending on your community, your target market, your niche market. But there was a recent survey of small businesses when it came to marketing, and it showed that marketers attributed more success to social media and larger their fan base. So you need to work on getting more followers, working different, unique, creative ways to build your members and build your numbers in your fan bases. And that's not only Facebook. It includes many other social media outlets. So today we're going to cover lots of interesting marketing metrics, so get your pens out, and you might even consider surveying your customers or your patients for satisfaction, and we can actually help you to do that. So moving along to the measuring of the impact of your marketing. First, you have to refine your marketing mix. Know what your marketing mix is. So sit down with your office manager, your accountant, whoever's in charge of this, and do a report of what type of marketing you're doing. Capture what you're spending, what's coming out of that marketing, identify what has been successful, what has worked and what has not worked, and you want to look at how it has affected your bottom line. So we'll get into the details of that when we talk about behind the scenes and behind the metrics. So you have your own unique fingerprint on the marketplace. It should be recognizable. It should be you, your brand. It should have a logo. It should have a statement. It should have a tagline. And it should be a consistent brand message. So it's very recognizable to your target audience, and it's very clear. You have to check your marketing mix and your programs. And sometimes you want to change them. Because something works doesn't mean you always keep the same boring things, because people will just pass it up, whether it's an email or an ad. So you need to really look at your performance and see how things are going, and then isolate what's efficient, what's effective, what's working, what's not working. Because you got a good price in a magazine to do a quarter-page ad, it might not be worth it. You might be better off doing an advertorial and taking a half-a-page ad. There's very valuable information by just clicking some reports on where your patients are coming from, how much they're spending, and how much you're spending to get them in the door. So you have to know your patient. Now, you might know the patient who's getting Botox, who's getting Restylane, who's getting laser, or who's getting a facelift, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about know your patient, know their buying pattern, know how they buy and how they spend. Sometimes you have to offer even the wealthiest client some patient financing option. It could be that that's what's stopping them from buying a package or a program. So your marketing campaigns have to be focused and geared towards your patient base and what they're looking for, what services they're looking for, what products they're looking for. So when you create your mixes and your packages and programs, meaning you get 3, you pay this much, or you get 4, you get the 5th free, or you get a series of laser treatments and get an add-on value package of skincare take-home maintenance kit with you. So you need to figure out which services and or products are best for you and which are good return on investment. So now we come back to the patient. And what is it costing you to acquire a patient to come into your practice or your med spa? So there is a metric used to determine the total cost you have to spend to acquire this new patient. So here's some calculations. We'll go through it a little slower. So the calculations are a multitude of things. First, we're going to look at your advertising mix, which includes your media, if you have any public relation or press releases or any of those costs and dollars spent on anything external. Then we have your sales and marketing costs. It costs you to have somebody in your practice or in your med-spa. You have to pay them by salary. You have to give them commission or bonuses. So we need to look at those numbers, and you might have to talk to your accountant to go through some of these numbers if they're not readily available through your computer system. Then you have new customers and new patients. So the number of new patients in a period of a month, a quarter, a year, those all need to be looked at very carefully and where they're coming from. So first we're going to look at the example. Advertising, media, PR costs. We'll use a number of $50,000. Then we're going to look at your sales and marketing costs, $50,000. So if we get 100 new patients in a month, which is a very good number, and those patients in total spend $100,000. So we're going to take that and divide it by 100 patients, and it's going to be $1,000 per customer or patient that it's costing you to bring into your practice. Now remember, that's just calculating one time coming into the practice. That's not the lifespan. The lifespan is every 3 or 4 months or every 6 months or every year that the patient comes in. So then you multiply that $1,000 times whether it's 12 months or 12 years. So the patient's lifetime value versus the acquisition cost. So the value is very important, as we know. A patient through the door that's happy is your most valuable patient, and that patient you want to keep happy. So there is a way for you to estimate the total value that you receive from that patient compared to what you're spending to acquire a new patient. So it costs a lot to acquire somebody new, but if you have somebody valuable and they can go out into the local area and talk about you and promote you, that word-of-mouth marketing is your least expensive and your absolute best way to market. And the closure rate is huge because somebody is coming in through a friend and a referral source. So marketing originated through the patient percentage. So the ratio shows that new business is driven by marketing, which we all know. This is a marketing-driven business. Anything aesthetic, any of these new profit centers, they're all driven by marketing. So no matter if you're a startup or you're in practice 25 years, you have to market. Depending on how long you're in business and practice and how busy you want to be will depend on what percentage of your annual income you actually spend on marketing. So for a new practice, it would be 15 to 20% of your projected revenue. And if you're an ongoing, very busy practice, then the numbers go down, but we never go down below 7 or 10% because you always want to keep yourself out there and you always want to be visible with some new equipment, some new services, some new menu. It's time now, it's spring, to kind of update your menus and create some new profit centers. We have some new, very exciting profit centers that we're working on with our clients now, and happy to talk to you about them at any time. When your total patient acquisition numbers, they're originated from your marketing efforts, how they came in. But you need to know where these people are coming from. So whoever is at that front on the phones must be writing down where they're coming from, must be entering it into the computer, into a database. And there are some great programs out there that we could talk to you about depending on your budget and what it is you're looking for. So marketing is influenced by the percentage of patients. So this takes into account all of the new patients that marketing interacted with while they were leads anytime during the sales process. So you have a hot lead that has called. We need to either call her back or him back with questions or answers. Those hot leads need to be called back ideally within 20 minutes, if not that day. And when we track that, we usually find it could take 3 to 5 days to get back. And that is the worst thing because people are shopping, and where people want to spend their money when they want to look good and it's non-insurance based, they'll be calling 2 or 3 other competitors of yours. So those hot leads need to be followed up, and there are funnel systems and there are tracking programs that we can put in place to help you and help your staff. There's a market basket analysis that's very interesting, and we'll go through a couple of slides on the basket. So if a patient buys a certain group of services or items, then he or she is more or less likely to buy another group of services or items. And usually there's a trend. So if you look carefully at what's happened classically in your practice for the last year or two, you might be able to pick that up. So as a first step, the marketing basket analysis can be used in deciding which products to offer in conjunction with certain services. So you can go back and look in your history to see what people are buying and what they're doing in combination together. And maybe, again, it goes back to some sort of special or packages or programs that you can offer. It can be a one-time, a 6-time, a yearly program. Some helpful marketing basket definitions. So affinity defines likelihood of 2 or more services being purchased together. And of course, the more services somebody does besides more money in your pocket actually makes them look and feel better. So if somebody will get injectables like Botox and then they'll get fillers or microdermabrasion, a combination, the skin will glow, instantly the filler will look great, or within a couple of days, the Botox will kick in within a handful of days. So the combination is great. So that's your goal, is to really pull together a combination of services and make it affordable to everybody, no matter how you have to price it or have them pay you out, offer some sort of options. Sometimes it's a driver item. A driver item would be the service or item that brings somebody into the practice. What's unique? What's interesting? Why are they coming in? You need to make sure that you have enough trained professionals, if it's not yourself as a physician, doing these procedures. And you have to have inventory on hand. I'm a big believer in private label product development. At the moment, working on about 10 different product lines for our physicians. But if there's no inventory on hand and somebody wants the product, it doesn't look good for you, your staff is not making the money, you're losing the money, and the patient might go somewhere else to buy something. There's another practice that we're working with, and there's one gal that does laser hair removal, and this time of the year, it's something that people want, and she happens to be out for a couple of weeks. So they have nobody doing laser hair removal. You have to make sure that you have enough trained staff and backup. And the same thing, again, have enough inventory on hand, whether it's your disposables or whether it's your retail products. So you want to analyze the contents of what's in the basket and what your patients are looking for and when are they looking for it. And it's good to have line items. So there's a service-to-service comparison. Understanding the number of baskets or services allows any metrics to be divided by the total number of baskets, creating an easy way to compare different characteristics. So it's a unit sold per patient and the revenue per transaction and the number of services and items per basket. So again, we're going back to what is the patient buying, how much are they spending, and how many services together are they having done in their trip to your practice. So you want to determine what to measure and design marketing campaigns that are measurable. We usually recommend, like now we're working on 2014 marketing plans for a lot of our clients. You need to have a blueprint. You need to have a budget. You need to have a plan to identify, okay, this is our target audience. This is our branding. These are the different months, and this is what we want to promote. Maybe you want to do events every quarter, and we come up with topics and titles for those events and specials. So you have to have well-defined goals or objectives. And there should be some definition and summary for the project, and that should be discussed with your staff. The staff should be very well aware every quarter of what's going to be coming into play, so they can also discuss it with everybody that they come in to meet in your practice, outside, in their family. Well, you know, if you really want to get a vampire facelift, well, there's going to be a special on it in a month, so you might as well come in, get the consult, and let us offer you the special. So it's good to determine exactly your marketing plan for a year in advance if you can, if not for a quarter. And it's really not that difficult, but you need to have a budget. So you design your campaign with all kind of measurable components we have discussed, and you identify the correct marketing activity for that goal, a clear listing of what is going to be measured, how often. How is a practice going to benefit if you place this special? I'm not a believer in really lowballing the prices. I want you to have an expertise, have a niche, and not worry about the competitor pricing. And if we're able to position you in a way where you are the top person in your field, or you have something unique that you're offering and you're the expert, then you don't have to worry about what everybody else is charging, and you can have your prices. And patients will come back to you as long as they get good results and good follow-up and good customer care. So there has to be that commitment to following through, following up with the patient, making sure people are happy, get them back in a week or 2 weeks to check what you've done. At that point, you can even upsell them to product or other services. Now we're talking about measurements that you want to include. So we want to look at some numbers. Number of your current patients and number of patients you plan and project to have in a year. So if you're starting out and you have 25 patients, we're hoping by the end of the year you're going to have 25 new ones, let's say every month. So you put that on a spreadsheet. And then you're going to look at how much the average patient is spending every time that they come in. Are they coming in every 3 months? Are they coming in every 6 months? Sometimes you have an esthetician there. It's great because they will come in every month for a facial or for a peel or for a microdermabrasion or some sort of laser facial treatment. And you get them in on a more constant basis, which I think is terrific. And you're also selling them product, and you'll more likely retain them than them go somewhere else. They'll be much more committed to you and bonded to you. So how much is the average patient spending now, and what are they going to be spending if you project it out in the next couple of years? Important measurements that you need to include to get that percentage. Your gross margins. Well, you have to know what your gross is and what your net is. A lot of people are not aware of how to even figure out gross and net, and that's something, what you're charging versus what it's costing you, and you might want to go over that with your accountant. So the percentage of prospects, well, there's a lot of prospects that come in, but how many of them are going to qualify as a lead? So 50 call because they saw your name or they saw an ad. 20 of them came in, but only 10 are really hot leads and are going to book. So even though the ad might have been great for 50, might not have been as cost effective for the 10 that you got. So you need to really look at that carefully, those qualified leads, and converting those to patients is what needs to be worked on in the practice. Getting them in is one thing. Once they're in, doing a very good, concise consult, spending the time doing the consult and converting them. By the way, in your practice, I'd like to know who is converting the patients. Is it you, the physician, or is it you, the office manager or patient coordinator? And your budget. Well, acquiring and marketing for the year, what the acquisition is and what the prices is costing you for each patient, and what your closure rate is. You need to look very carefully at those numbers, and I'm happy to go over them with you. This is no time to fly by the seat of your pants. Take care of planning in the front end. We're talking about now, looking at 2014, looking at your measurements that have been for the past year and up until this year, and get that information you need, and let's fine-tune your campaigns. Let's look at what's working, what's not working, what has worked in the past might not be working today. How good is your social media? How good is your marketing and your advertising? How engaged are your patients? And maybe your newsletters need to be improved. Maybe you need to think about writing an ebook or some white papers, and we have ghostwriters. We can help you with that. So you have to measure the effects of your marketing. So the goal of using marketing metrics is to make wise investment decisions. We want nobody to spend money and lose money. So there are 4 simple steps on how well your marketing dollars are currently working for you. Step 1, well, your database. That's your internal database. That internal database needs to be cleaned up, needs to be sifted, needs to be looked through on a regular basis. Everybody coming through your door should absolutely be giving you their email address. If not, then checking their email address. There isn't a practice we've been to ever that doesn't have mess-ups with email addresses or patients walk in and say, well, why didn't I get that special, or why wasn't I invited to that event? It happened literally this morning. We got something from a physician that we're working with, and one of the patients happens to be a friend, and I mentioned, oh, did you get the wonderful Evite? And they're like, no, and I'm a patient there for 2 years. I don't know why. So that absolutely, no matter how good you think it is, and that's very valuable. Growing your internal database and those email lists are very important. So you want to track that and you want to keep that. Keep lists of the dates of all your campaigns, the descriptions of the campaigns, and the number of leads that were generated. So you will know the number, then the bottom line of what the sales were. If you have an event and you brought in $75,000 and the event cost you $15,000 because you got $25,000 from your pharmaceutical reps, well, it tells you how much you've actually put into your event and how much you actually made. So you're looking now at a whole picture, and that's your step one. So making your data entry easy is important because nobody at the front desk wants a hard job. Everybody thinks they're overworked. I can tell you right now there's not one practice where somebody will think they're underworked. So you have to make it very easy for everybody to enter the data. And that's where there's some really good technologies out there that make it really easy or very difficult to get through the first screen unless you take in all the proper information that's needed. Then it allows you to go to the next screen. And training has to be ongoing. There's too many practices we go to, well, they were trained 6 months ago or they were trained 18 months ago. That's not good enough. Training has to be ongoing. And the tracking systems you need to discuss with your staff at all times what's going on with the tracking, what's best, what suits their needs. Maybe things need to be edited in your program. There needs to be printed reports on a weekly and monthly basis and discuss with your staff. Don't just have the reports between the physician and the office manager. Everybody should share in some of that information. So step 3 is to ask questions. Ask your prospects how they heard of you. Maybe you want to have a vanity number. Maybe you want a unique phone number or code that you put on an ad or a marketing campaign so you could track it easier, because sometimes people say, oh, yes, I saw you on the Internet, or I saw you in the New York Times or New York Magazine. Well, the truth is you really want to know what ad they saw, what search engine they used, or what question they put in, or how did they get to you. The other way that we find very productive is to do quarterly patient surveys and find out from the patients, are they happy? Are they going to recommend new patients to you? What would they like to see in your practice or med spa that they don't have now? How is the customer service? And those patient surveys are very valuable, and we do them through the Internet, so it's real easy. And step 4 is to move your marketing forward. Which marketing generates the best response, and which one generates the worst response? Today, I would like all of you to go back, work on this, create those reports, and I'm happy to talk to you about what your findings are and how we can help you to make your marketing better for your return on investment. Who is actually doing your marketing for you, you need to look at carefully as well. So strategically, marketing metrics will give you a better understanding of the cost of what it is to acquire and retain a new client or patient, as well as the true value of your client and patient base. The metrics you choose will help you determine the goals and objectives of each campaign and the revenue you should expect to gain. We expect more, and others we expect less, and it depends on what the offer is, what time of year. During the summer it's usually slower, so you might want to have deeper, I can't say the word discounts, but programs where there'd be much more added value. So the key to your success is knowing how your marketing dollars are being spent, and that's something I want you to look at with a magnifying glass, and how effective is each dollar being spent. So going forward, it will be a smooth transaction into the marketing mix and the marketing basket that you're going to use that's going to help to grow your practice. So as part of your process, your office manager or your accountant should generate these reports. Some computer systems, real simple, push one button and you get the reports. If you don't know how, then you should call your IT people and have them show you how you get that. You should set personal goals for your staff and compensate them. Everybody wants to be incentivized. And monthly numbers you should discuss in a monthly staff meeting. Don't just, again, keep them inside and not share them. Everybody knows what's going on. It's very transparent, even though you might not want it to be. So you can not talk about dollars and cents, but you might want to talk about number of patients coming in, number of patients that came in that didn't turn into a patient, somebody who came in through an ad, who wound up coming in, getting a consult and leaving. You want to know why. If they did not sign up then, who's following up? Who's tracking? Who's responsible for that? And what are we doing with their email address or their address? Are we sending them anything? Are we following up with them? That's where it really needs to be looked at. So the best way to monitor all of your practice metrics is through a spreadsheet, computer reports, website reports. Lots of practices we visit, the physicians don't even look at the website reports. They don't even know what are the key words, what people are looking for, what's bringing people in. But they're spending tons of money on SEO, tons of money on search engine, SEM, search engine marketing. And we really need to look at that very carefully and closely and look at your keyword list, because things change from a year ago or 6 months ago. And you have some new services. You might have some new competitors, and you might have some new expertise and some new niches that you've created in your practice. So you need to go back and look at that. And some tips for you to look at your financial metrics is to meet with one of our Beautiful Forever consultants over the phone. We can fly out to you if you're local. You're lucky. We do have consultants all over, and we could discuss with you what is going on. We could focus on a few important issues and look at your metrics, and we can help you to set realistic goals. So you should have a list of questions that you'd like us to help you to answer, and we will give you the first 30 minutes free on a phone call, and we could discuss with you your concerns. We want you to be successful, so we want you to select the methods that work best for you and your style, and then you need to involve your staff in goal setting and problem solving. And then you have to use those results to improve your services. So don't just do a survey. Don't just do one and then do nothing with it. Look at the survey, look at the results, discuss them with your staff, and evaluate your methods. So this way you're evaluating and you're looking on an ongoing basis. You're not waiting until you have a problem and realize, wow, you know, we have no more marketing money left, or there's nothing left for us to use for the next 3 months. Or we might have to let staff go. We don't like to hear that when you have a thriving practice. You want to stay ahead of your competition, and our marketing experts can help you review your plan or create a budget or marketing plan for you. We do press releases on a monthly or quarterly basis for our clients, and we help you to stay ahead of the competition. Beautiful Forever Business Consulting can help you in many different ways, and we can help you to create new profit centers, and there's many new profit centers out there, whether you're starting in aesthetics or you just want to grow in your aesthetics. The mystery shopping is really interesting because you don't really know what's going on unless you get a report card from somebody from the outside who knows the industry, and that's what we'll do for you. We do a special package of report cards and mystery calls, and that is a great value of $325. And we have an educational guide that is over 500 pages, and now we have it available by ebook. So we have the first 12 today available at $129. So love to hear from you. You can email us at info@beautifulforever.com. You can call us at 877-SPA-MEDI, and we'd love to hear from you.
Contact us today at beautifulforever.com or call 877-SPA-MEDI for an initial complimentary evaluation of your practice needs. Realize greater profits at a $300 savings.